Hello and welcome to HDFC Mutual Fund's Laxmi for Laxmi initiative, a financial empowerment program for women and by women. Here, women distributors share the unique behavior of women investors and the hurdles they overcome in their financial journeys. Join us as we empower each other in the world of mutual fund investments. Welcome. This is Larissa Fernand on behalf of HDFC Mutual Fund. And I'm really excited today to be talking to Roopa Venkatkrishnan. Roopa has over 3 decades of experience in financial services, out of which 2 decades are in managing investments. She's based out of Mumbai and has a client base that spans across 450 families and 1,500 individuals. Hello, Roopa. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Larissa. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, HDFC, for giving to share my experience over the last few decades.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with that, the past few decades. Can you share something how women have changed in their approach to money over this time? How the investor of today probably differs from the investor of, if there were investors in those days, predominantly?
So I think, Larissa, women's approach towards money for decades has not changed. It has always been about financial and emotional security for themselves and their families. But what has changed is, I think, the kind of exposure, the kind of information available over the last few decades has changed people's thought process, especially women. If you look at what has happened is in the last 2 decades, the new millennials and all have come to the workforce, and all of those young and the middle-aged and everybody is aware and they want to participate in this financial journey. And let me go back. I think the biggest game changer for me has been technology and also infrastructure building, mainly roads and also internet connectivity.
But is the mindset of the women today different? Or are they still risk averse? Talk to me about their mindset.
See, the mindset when they come to me is the same. They come with all the risk averse because they are the ones who want to be very, very protective. They want to create that kind of wealth and everything. So they do come with that risk averse kind of experience. But as you talk to them, because what have they done all these years? What have they seen their mothers doing? What have they seen their grandmothers doing is investing in gold, going back and investing into real estate or small things which they are buying, or chit funds, or those are the kind of investments they have observed. So these are all very, very safe and they want to invest. But once you sit with them and make them understand, saying that these are all the instruments where your money will not grow above inflation, sustainability will be a problem in the long run, they are ready to take that kind of investment decisions to moving into mutual funds or any other financial asset classes, Larissa. So it is about guiding them. And once they have that understanding, and then if you guide them, they are ready to take that kind of risk into their portfolio. I don't think I would rate it as risk. I would say that they are ready to get that exposure in seeing that how their wealth can grow and bring in financial security also for themselves.
So are middle-aged women open to this, or it's only the younger generation?
I think, Larissa, you will be shocked saying that my experience has taught me saying that I've got people who came to us at even when the person was 60, 65, and they were ready to take this kind of decisions when you guide them and tell them saying that these are not, if you come for a long term, these are not riskier products. This will give you better financial security, financial returns, and build corpus and capital for you. I think it is all about guiding them. It is all about hand-holding them. And once you hand-hold them, they are ready to be there for a long haul.
Do you find a difference in, say, upper-class women versus the middle-class women in their mentality when it comes to money, or not at all?
So again, I would go back and say that the fundamental attribute of every woman wants financial security for a family, which is what I believe. Now, does the woman's priority on financial objectives, irrespective of the fact that it is a wealthy or a upper class woman or a lower class woman, remains the basic that their main objectives have been that children's education, they want to have a home acquisition for themselves and wealth accumulation, holidays, all those aspirations. So that doesn't change. But what happens is it is about the availability of finance. Because if you look at the strata, if you go to the lower strata of society, or a middle income or a lower middle income or an upper class, I think the availability of finance also becomes a very important aspect of the financial decision making process. Now, I think the basic myth also around investment is saying that you need large sums of money to create large sums of wealth. Correct? That myth has to be broken around and say that when you go and talk to people and say, like, I have got very, very lower strata of society. I've got, investors who are sweepers in a school, a woman who sweeps in the school. And I have met her and we've started doing 500,000 rupees, 1,500 rupees SIP for them. And they are ready to do that because till now nobody has approached them. The feeling of saying that this is only for the rich has to change. And if you actually sit with them, so I think the upper middle class, lower middle class is all about financial liquidity. And once you reach there and say that, this is available for everybody, I think that mindset is changing now. And obviously we need to do a lot of work to reach across, because this is not something where they come and approach us. We have to nudge them. We have to reach across to them and talk to them and make them comfortable saying that even 100 and 500 and 1,000 rupees can make a difference.
Yeah, so you speak about the sweeper woman who has started investing. But at the same time, in, say, the corporate world, there'll be women who are extremely confident in their jobs, extremely talented, but they don't have the confidence when it comes to managing their money. What would be your advice to such women?
So basically, again, Larissa, it is about approaching them and telling them, saying that, because money has always been a myth, right, for all of us. It is always a feeling saying that you need to have confidence. Saying that, I always tell women, if you are doing very well in your career, you've done very well in your education, you've done very well in your career, you earn very well, then you have the capability of managing your own money. I think that's the belief that all of them should have, saying that we are capable of managing money, and it is no rocket science. It is just that you need to have a discipline, you need to have an approach, you need to take guidance from somebody to help you to go and take that plunge and take that decision to manage your own money. It is something which I would say, saying that, if I want to run a marathon, I'm going to go and look at saying that who is the teacher whom I should go and approach, and say that how am I going to make myself fit? How am I going to train myself? And how am I going to run a marathon in the next 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years? I have to prepare myself, right? In the same way, in your financial journey also, you need to find a coach, a financial consultant, or an advisor or a distributor, someone who can guide you and wade you through this exercise of your managing your own money, bringing in prudence into your savings, bringing in discipline into your savings. So it's all about taking guidance and taking help and saying that, how do I start it? And I can only share and tell every woman that who would be watching this and say that, have the confidence, because if you have the confidence of doing well in your education, getting into a very high profile job, and you're doing fantastic in your career, I'm 100% sure you would be much more capable of managing your own money.
Yeah, but the issue here is women often take advice from people in their family, whatever, who may not be the best to guide them. That is another issue, right?
So basically that also comes in because I think it's inherited, right? Ages wise, we always have listened. It is just not about women. It is also about men. We all listen to our people who are there at home, we go to guidance with our parents, or we go to guidance with our uncles or anyone. But dynamics have changed, Larissa. Dynamics have changed. It is not we suit things, because if you are a very great career person and a career woman or a career man, you have done it all on your own. You have not gone back to your parents and listened to everything. It is just that we sometimes put it, because that is a back burner for us and we don't take that initiative. But the question is saying that you have to come out of that chuckles, because dynamics are changing. The way investment approach, which has happened in the last few decades, have changed, especially in the last 10 years. And things are changing on a day-to-day basis. So your approach towards that whole thing has to change, and your mindset has to change.
Okay. What about the mindset of men who manage their money? They are the breadwinners or bread earners, whatever you call it, and they control the finances in the house. How do you convince them to get the women involved?
So two things, Larissa, there are two aspects to this whole thing, okay, when it comes to women not including So what my experience is saying that there are a lot of men who also include their women to be a part of their finances because of their career commitments and all those things. Women of the house do take care of a lot of financial decisions, and they do take care of the investments process and all of those things. But there are quite a few, majority of the women, what happens is, because of the inherent nature of our cultural upbringing, we are only taught saying that when you get married, you have to take care of your family, you have to take care of your children, you have to take care of your in-laws, you have to cook, and you have to take care. And few of them are told saying that you go to office and work because you need financial assistance. But we are never told in our upbringing days saying that you can also manage your money. You also need to be prudent with regard to money. Correct? So that is something that has, and that brings in a lot of women not taking that initiative to see that they want to come and manage the money. What's happening is, Larissa, I think the reality to a larger extent is, if women don't do that in today's times, I think statistics prove saying that the statistics of the proportion of widowhood, which is there in India, this is an article analysis by the economics of aging by the National Bureau of Economic Research, which talks about saying that the average mean of widows in India is around 60 years. By the age of 60 years, 55% of the women are widowed, as compared to about only 15% are widower in men. And world over, the statistics shows saying that women live more 5 years more than men. So if you look at all of those statistics, I think it is very, very critical for every woman to take care of the finance at the very, very early stages. Because my experience has seen that when some tragedy strikes, it could be when they become a widow, or when they are going through a divorce, or when the money was managed by the parents and the parents are no more. I think the women become very, very vulnerable, first because they need financially security for surviving. Secondly, they are in a very low emotional phase of their life. They're going through stress. And then you also have on top of it the responsibility of managing money. I think that circumstances can be avoided, and I would request every woman to be a part, because the reality is, I think, and 60 years is too young to be a widow, but the statistics show something else in India, 55%. And imagine all of them going through that kind of crisis is very, very critical. And you have another aspect to it also, Larissa, now in the last 10 years or 15 years. If you look at, a lot of women are going to inherit wealth in the next few decades. And all of that wealth which is going to come to women, it is very important that they will have to manage that entire wealth. Because there is a study in the US which talks about saying that when women inherit money, and if they are not financially prudent, by the year 6 to 7 years, the money becomes zero. because somebody else has managed and it is mismanaged.
Do
Because
you share the points with your male clients and tell them, bring your daughters, bring your wives along?
yes, I do
You?
insist. I do insist. So what I do is basically when I have a meeting, I always insist saying that I go and visit the family's house, or I tell them to come to office with their wife. And I always meet them with the families because it's very, very important. I realized long ago saying that the women of the house needs to be a part of that financial decision making. There's one more aspect to this. Why? Because Larissa, the inflation hits the women the first
Why is that?
through the milk prices, vegetable prices, and the cost that she pays for the provisions and the everything. Because the price of things go up there, but the realization of that cost comes to the male of the family much later. So the women are so aware of the cost that what was the cost 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, how their household expenses have moved up. Now, when you sit with the male and the women, what happens is the reality of the cost escalation for the next few years is so realistic with the women, but the men are not able to gauge that, say that how that household expenses would move up. So the reality of inflation, managing their home, is so fantastically embedded in every woman's system that they know exactly what's going to happen in the next few years. So and then when they realize that, and when you put numbers saying that if you want to sustain this lifestyle, you have to save so much, you have to create so much of a corpus, that communication and that decision making of for the family and investment process becomes much easier.
You have often said, I've heard you say that you are very driven to create HNIs. Can you unpack that for me? What did you really mean by that?
Larissa, that creating HNI is basically shaped from my experience. When I was growing up, I was my father told me to fend for myself at the age of 16, 17. And he told me, so I started very young, and I started with a meager salary of 300 rupees in a petrol pump. So that journey of mine shaped me, saying that it is very, very important, because I didn't have anything at that point of time. And people who had money were given opportunities, were given, the entry level barrier was much easier for them. The way the world looked at them was completely different. And I realized saying that every human being needs to have that financial security in life. And as I came into finance and the financial world, I realized saying that looking around me, everybody was looking at HNI, super HNIs and all of those things. And my realization was saying that there is a class of people which is middle class, lower middle class, and upper middle class. They don't have that ability or that opportunity to save, and which is the biggest important thing that you need in today's life. Because as you talk about nations, okay, the most important thing for a nation to develop is that there is to be a capital formation in the society. And that capital formation in the society has to be broad-based. And for me, that was so important to believe India has to do well. And if everybody has to prosper, I think people down below also had to prosper. So I started working with a lot of people. So what also framed into me is compounding. Somewhere way back in 99, 2000, I've been hearing Mr. Ramdev Agarwal and Mr. Ramesh Damani, and I used to hear Prashant Jain. So all of these people only talked about compounding. And that compounding which they were keeping on talking I was very curious about to understand, saying that what that compounding means and how that numbers can change and how small things can become large. And that curiosity of compounding also brought me to believe, saying that small investments can also make great wealth over a long period of time. And Also systematic investment plan by saving small. It's like every drop of water becomes an ocean. In the same way, every drop of wealth that is saved will become an ocean of wealth. Was a belief, and that experience and belief brought me to think saying that I have to contribute a lot to people who are in the middle income, lower income, and upper middle class, because that's where the need of capital formation was there, and that aspiration of India and participating, and the desires of getting a home, giving good education to the children, everything was so embedded in me, because I was also seeing my own family where I was growing up, my aunts, my uncles, and my extended family who were there in the lower middle income or an upper middle class, how they struggled in their life because they didn't have anyone to opportunity or anyone to guide them. So that is one of the reasons why I still believe and I still focus on retail small, because I think that's where aspiration India is all about, and that's where country also in the long run will grow, because capital formation is very, very important.
Roopa, there are a lot of young women and even men who talk of FIRE, this financial independence, retire early.
Yeah.
How would you advise them? What would you tell them if they just came to you and said, what should we do? Where should we start?
I think the FIRE word, I would just say that if somebody wants to save and retire early, then my only thing to the young people who come is saying that you need to save 50-60% of your salary. Then only then you can save and compound and create that wealth, because the more you save, then you bring in financial security for yourself in a shorter period of time. Whereas most important principle in finance is saying that time is the most important essence for compounding to grow, right? Because if you say it is 12% return every 6 years, the money will appreciate. So your saving has to be higher if you want to retire early. So then the portion of your savings from 20% of your income or 30% of your income will move up to 50-60% of your income to save to retire. So obviously those numbers are, which is what I speak to them and say that you want to retire fast, absolutely not an issue, but 60% of your salary should go into savings.
Got it. Roopa, I'm going to give you a hypothetical example. Let's say there's a couple and the man controls all the money in the house and he gives his wife a monthly budget.
Yeah.
And she manages to save something from that budget every month.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you tell her to do with that money if she came to you and says, my husband doesn't know I'm saving this, I want to build my own little kitty? Would you?
I've got so many of these women who do that. So many of the women, and every women that I have met have done that. So they start from their household saving, they will start 1,000 rupees or 100 rupees or 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees to save. And I help them to create that wealth. And whenever they have something extra, they do start saving. Larissa, it is just not from their own budget. Do you know, saying that they become so much of an influence when a bonus comes into the family? A family, the male gets a bonus. She makes a decision also there saying that how much has to be invested and how much has to be spent. When the salary increases for the husband, she also decides and she starts influencing and starts talking about saying that how much that increase in SIP has to be there, because she wants that financial security. Now, even if that person is controlling, because we make them a part of that decision-making exercise, I think that ice is broken. So the ice is broken, and also the feeling saying that, so first thing is about confidence, right? The person doesn't have a confidence saying that someone else can manage. It is the same way, right? The parents don't feel saying that your children can manage well. Whereas the male of the house would feel saying that the wife doesn't know how to manage well because of exposure. But when somebody comes in and says that somebody is there to guide, then that whole equation changes, Larissa.
Okay, so all your male and women clients, what advice would you tell them to give their daughters?
I think the first thing is to empower them educationally and to give them the ability to manage their own wealth, to be smart with money, to be very, very understanding about what they want. How do they have a roadmap to their whole exercise? I don't know if I should share here, Larissa. So every young girl who comes to me, I articulated this word few years ago. I didn't know how to articulate this, but I'd make a baby fund. Okay. Now this baby fund idea came from my experience of my marriage and when I had a child. Okay. What I realize is most of the girls at some point of time when they get married and they have children, they have the desire to work. But because of financial insecurity, that they are not able to go back to work, because at the end of it, what you need when you have a baby is a nanny and a cook. Somebody to take care of your baby and a cook to take care of the house, right? To cook food. Then you can take care of everything. But for that, you need financial expense. There's a financial expense there. And because you don't have that ability to take care of that expense, what happens is you decide to leave your job and sit at home to take care of the baby. So, and that is something that I realized long ago, and say that that's where women become depressed. That's where women go through that phase of feeling, saying that they are not capable, they are incapable. And with the changing times where technologically everything is changing, if you don't work for 3-4 years, when you come back again to work, you're actually at the you sometimes feel you've lost so much of it. You're not aware. So I have started working with girls and saying that you should have a baby fund, where you accumulate money, saying that tomorrow, after 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whenever you want to have a baby, you have a corpus to fall back to employ a cook and have a nanny, so that your child can be taken care of and you can go to work and you don't have to depend upon your husband or your parents or your in-laws or anybody, because that's dignity. Correct? There is a feeling of guilt also as women, when you leave the child and go with someone. And then, so these are all things which have shaped me to build that entire process and say that you should have a baby fund.
They prefer coming to talk to a women advisor or women distributor. Do you find there's an empathy there?
Larissa, I don't think so. I am not saying men also. There are a lot of men who have empathy towards the way that investments has to be done. I don't distinguish saying that it's men or women. I think what women want is empathetically to somebody to make them to understand. They also want you should not use jargons. You should have simple language which is to be used. And that's where it shapes them and say that they are comfortable with anyone. It's male or men. I wouldn't distinguish saying that, I know a lot of women who don't have empathy, but there are a lot of men who have empathy. So I don't want to distinguish there. I think it's about choosing who we are more comfortable with.
And what is one mistake you don't want women to make with respect to their money? Could it be that don't ignore your finances, or what? Or what advice would you give?
I think for every woman, there is only one advice I like to give. Control your finances. You are capable. You have the ability to manage, because I feel the women are the best financial managers. If you go back and see our mothers, or even my mother-in-law, or if I look at my grandmothers, I think the way they managed their money was so fantastic. There was a limited amount which was given to them every month to run the house. Did they come back ever and told, saying that this month there was so many guests more? This month your children's friends came and ate more. They never come back and say that this month there were 20 people more to eat and this budget was not enough, so please give me more money. I've never heard that. I've never seen that. With whatever amount of that resources, they have been able to manage any amount of guest which is coming in, or the way that they have managed it instantaneously. They have fantastic managers with money. It is just that when it comes to household, they are very good. But when it comes to the external world, where they have to understand the financial thing. I think saying that if you actually nudge them, if you actually help them, they are ready to do that. Larissa, my mother started doing an SIP in gold from 1968. I am a South Indian, so obviously South Indians always believe in gold, right? So after I was born, my mother used to send every month 100 rupees to Tangamaligai, which was in Chennai, every month. And then after once a year, when we used to go for our holiday, she will go and buy something. So she started her SIP from 1968. Now she's one of them. And there are so many women who have done that. So SIP as a word has spoken today. But this has been there from 1968, 69. So women have been doing that for a long number of years. Okay, those days it was gold because that was the only one which was opportunity. That was the opportunity which was available. But if you go and speak to women today, they are ready to go and move to some other financial asset classes. They are ready. It's just that they need some guidance. They just need some nudge. And that nudge is something that we as individuals have to go and speak to them.
Or as fathers have to talk to their daughters or to their wives.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. And I think, Larissa, the change that you are seeing today is the women become a very big influencers in the family. If one woman is financially educated, she doesn't educate just herself and her family, but she educates the entire society. Whereas a man that is what is told, saying that if he gets educated, he only does it for himself and not for anyone. But women actually empower other women. And today what I am seeing is every woman who's there is encouraging their daughter to be on their feet and say that be financially well off. I'm seeing that change which is happening, but I want more and more mothers to see that we all want our girls to get educated well, settled well, and see that they get the best marks. But we also have to empower them and say that you can manage your money. You need to stand on your own feet, being financially secured and financially independent.
Roopa, I think you are doing an amazing job on that front. So thank you.
So it's been a passion for me, Larissa, because that's what your experience shapes you to see that how that doesn't need to happen and how you can change in the society at large.
Of course, I completely agree. Yeah. Anyway, Roopa, it was fantastic talking to you, and I so appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larissa. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.
Thank you for watching. This is Larissa Fernand on behalf of HDFC Mutual Fund.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.